Welcome. Hi. Hi, Willie. Hi, Katie. So good to see y'all. Hello. Hey, Golden. Hi, everybody. Come on in. Let us know why you chose to be here today. Your name, pronouns, role, organization. Super excited. Hello. 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 Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. Hi. So good to see you. Come on in. Come on in. Hello. Hi. Welcome. Hey, Heather. Good to see you. Welcome, everybody. Come on in. Lean into this work. Yes. Come on in. Hello, everybody. Hello. Hello. Welcome. Hi. Come on in. Come on in. We'll get started. We are so happy to have you. So happy that you're here. Hello. Hi, Shanika. Good to see you. Welcome, everybody. Come on in. Come on. Welcome. Let me know your name, pronouns, role, organization, and why you chose to be here today. Yes. Hello. Welcome. Yes. Thank you, Katie. Yes. Hey, welcome. Hi, Mary. Good to see you again. Hi, Deja. Deja, good morning. Welcome. All right. Fervent supporter of home education and Black joy. Right, boy? Hey, hello, everybody. Welcome. Come on in. We'll give people a few more minutes to get in. 2 more minutes. Come on in. Introduce yourself in the comments. Hi, Tracy. Hello. Come on in. Welcome. Couple more minutes. What's your why? Why are you here today? Hi, Christina. Welcome. Come on in, y'all. Hi, Ivory. Good to see you. Can't wait for the opening of that school, Morning Glory Montessori. Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Come on in. Share your name, pronouns, role, organization, and why you chose to be here. Couple more minutes and we'll get started. Hi, Amber. Welcome. All right, Amber and crew, your fellows and your watching today. Hey, Steph from Wisconsin. Hi, Emily. Thank you. Emily said, I'm here for the real talk. That's it. You are in the right place. All right. Hello. Looks like folks are connecting in the comments. That's all right. Yay. Hello. Come on in, y'all. Bolo, bolo, baby. All right. I want to hear about that. All right, y'all. We are going to get started. All right. Welcome, welcome. We are so glad everybody's here. Keep it coming as you're joining. Hi, Natasha. Come on in and just share with us your name, your pronouns, your role, the organization, and why you chose to be here today. Welcome to this webinar series, Real Talk, Real Actions. We thank you for your action in joining us in this space today. And if you have not done so, share your why with us today. Today's webinar is Empowering Black Education, homeschooling, and community schools as an act of liberation. I want to start off by introducing myself and sharing my why. I am Dr. Nicole Evans, your moderator for today. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I currently serve as the Senior Director of Leadership at Embracing Equity. My why is this: I am standing on the shoulders of my ancestors as they whisper, "Stand up," in my ear. It is also for my descendants for whom I want to leave the gift of eradicating racism to them. Joining me today are two amazing people, two amazing women, and they will tell us who they are and share their why. I'm going to bring into the space today our first panelist. Hi.
Hi.
All
Hello,
right.
everybody.
Just go ahead and introduce yourself and share
Yeah.
your why. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Evans. So I'm Fabra Jabulani. My pronouns are she and her. I wear many hats in the world. For the purposes of this talk, I'm the co-founder of Camille Communities, and I also serve as the lead racial equity catalyst of Forward Through Ferguson. In regards to my why, I have many whys, but the one or two that I'll share is that there's a phrase or yeah, like a phrase that's been going around, been floating around my socials that I occasionally check recently. And it says something along the lines of, if one fails to answer their calling, it will keep calling you. And so
Mm,
just the last couple years, I keep have been getting this affirmation or this sense that a part of my calling is to be in and with the community in our efforts to be self-determined, as Black people, as Indigenous people, and as people of the global majority. And so I choose to answer my calling as a guide, as a facilitator, and as an advocate for our collective liberation, because Mike Brown's parents lost their son in 2014, and I fight with my life so that my son, who was born in 2021, can live. And also, as Dr. Evans said, because our ancestors are giants and we stand on their shoulders. And so I have to be unafraid and I have to be unapologetic about
mm,
believing that liberation is my birthright. So,
I love that. Thank
yeah,
you. Thank you, Fabra.
of course.
We have another amazing woman who is going to join us and in this conversation that we all get to bear witness to.
Yeah.
So here we go. Welcome, Maia. Introduce yourself. We're ready for you, I think. Uh-oh, you're muted, love.
Can you
There we
hear
go.
me now?
Yes, we got you. There you
Good
go.
afternoon. I just wanted to enter the space with so much gratitude. Both of you inspired me early on as I entered Wildflower and began doing, really continuing my work to support Black educators.
Mm,
But my name is Maia Blankenship, and my pronouns are she, her. I come in wearing many hats, but I'll lead with the hat I feel like is the most important one right now in my life, which is I'm the mother of a 7-year-old little Black girl named Zuri Joan. Um, she has been such a big part of how my why has evolved
Mhm.
over the last 20 years that I've worked in education.
mm,
But I also wear the hat in this conversation as a co founder and co CEO of Black Wildflowers Fund, and as a partner at the Wildflower Foundation, leading all of our charter pathways work so that we can create more public Montessori schools that are intentionally small and cater to Black and Brown children across the country. So very honored to be here and to be in this space with you all.
All right. Well, welcome to both of you all. I have dropped lots of links in the chat if you want, in the comments, if you want to stay connected to either of our guest panelists today. So make sure you get in there and get in their LinkedIn and stay connected to them. All right. So for those of you who may be new to us, I would like to introduce Embracing Equity. Embracing Equity develops the mindsets and practices that ensure an inclusive and equitable community. We help build stronger and more inclusive teams. We offer tailored solutions for the education sector and others, for Montessori, for organizations, for funders, driving toward a world where every person can thrive. So, if you want to, I'm going to drop another link in the chat. If you want to stay connected and want to see how embracing equity can support you in your journey, please sign up. I'm going to drop that in the chat right now. Sign up, y'all. All right. So, let's get to it. Story time. The year was 1825. John Berry Meacham had purchased his freedom and found his way to St. Louis to buy his wife's freedom. She had been moved to St. Louis. Meacham teamed up with a white Baptist missionary to establish the first African church of St. Louis, which happened to be one of the oldest Black churches west of the Mississippi River. Meacham provided classes to both free and enslaved Black students at the church. However, when racial tensions grew and the education of Black students was seen as a threat to slavery, Missouri, like many other states at the time, banned education for all Black students. So here's what happened. When the classes at the church were shut down, Meacham equipped a steamboat with desks and chairs. He anchored the boat in the Mississippi River because, you see, the state said not on land, not on this land. So he was creative, innovative. So on the Mississippi River, outside the state's jurisdiction, he created the first floating freedom school here in this region. The school provided an education for hundreds of both free and enslaved Black students in the St. Louis area. I tell this story, and there are many, many more like this, to help set the table. Black folks have been performing acts of liberation around education for a long time. They have long understood that education can be a way to empower Black families. So now let's first fast forward to recent times. Here's what some of the data is showing us. According to census data, the number of Black households homeschooling their children jumped from 3.3% at the start of the pandemic in 2020 to 16.1% by the fall of that same year. That jump was the largest of any racial group. Meanwhile, the proportion of homeschooled children in the United States overall nearly doubled from 2.8% before the pandemic to 5.4% in the 2020-2021 school year, according to the U.S. Department of Education. Now, this data may not present actually even a complete count of families because every state regulates and tracks their homeschooling differently, okay? Could be more. In addition to that data point, Cheryl Field Smith, a professor in early elementary education at the University of Georgia, cited several reasons why more Black families are choosing to homeschool, including those reasons that we are all too familiar the disproportional rates of discipline against Black students, the resegregation of schools, the denied access to gifted education in Black and Brown communities, and bullying compounded by school safety concerns. So I'm going to, in case someone is wanting to read that article, I'm going to post in the chat just that article if you want to read that a little bit more closely. Let's bring it back. We are also aware of the recent war on DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, JEDI, DEIB, belonging, whatever you want to name it, in our institutions. How that war on DEI is showing up is with book banning of the teaching of African American studies in our schools, and even through legislation. Since 2023, legislators have introduced 65 anti DEI bills targeting higher education institutions. That's staggering, y'all. Despite all of this, there is hope. And there are acts of liberation happening now. So come on. I'm going to bring my guests into this conversation.
Mhm.
All right, Maia, Fabra, let's talk. Tell me about your journeys, your thought process, and most importantly, your freedom dreaming for yourselves, your families, and the work that you want to do with other Black families. So, I guess in short, what I'm asking you is what led you to thinking about education as as an act of liberation? Maya, you want to start us off?
Sure. Um, and I will say I feel very privileged about the family that I was born into to start. So early on in my life, at 3, I have a picture of me 3 years old on Fisk University's campus, where
Mm,
my mother attended one of the oldest historically Black colleges and university in the country. And so that was planted in me before I went through my first development
yeah,
stage, okay,
right,
from birth
right.
to 6. So I think that is a part of why I've always seen Black education as an act of liberation. And then I'll call in my grandmother, Hattie Eli Jackson, who is the reason I'm a Montessori kid and completed primary school in Atlanta. She founded the first public Montessori elementary school in
Mm,
Tennessee through Memphis City school system, which is now Shelby County school system. Um, so in the 60s, she founded that
mm,
elementary school. And my best friend attended, many of my cousins. I never lived in Memphis, Tennessee, but I spent many days and weeks at Doubletree Elementary. And so that was a seed that was also planted. And she insisted to my mother that her first grandchild attend a Montessori school because she believed it as a tool for liberation
mm,
in education. And her school was almost 100% Black, African American.
mm,
So I think we've always had trailblazers, disruptors, agitators who were going to make sure that we could thrive as Black people. And
mm,
so I see the work just continuing. How do I continue that legacy and then pass the mantle to my own daughter? And I think the way we do that in this present day, where we live in a world where people want to strip the historical context from children and not really tell them the truth about
mm,
how Black folks founded and built this country
Right.
and much of the world, right?
mm,
And what
mhm,
colonization has, how it has affected all of us. That is the piece that we can change now. with micro schools, with home schools, with public schools. I
Yes.
honestly believe it can be done in any kind of area of education, private, public, district, charter.
Mm.
I am agnostic. It's really about who's leading the school,
Yes.
where's the alignment with community, and are we in relationship with children? That's what that's
Mm.
about. And so my work, my calling is connected to removing the barriers. So Black educators who already have the genius, the vision, the relationship are able to lead schools that are liberating for the families and unlocking all of the genius and talent that already
Mm.
exists
Yeah.
within our beautiful Black and brown babies.
Yes. Love that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Fabra, your thoughts?
Oh, I have so many. I have
Yes.
so
Yes.
um thank you for sharing your story, Maia. I think as a person who is I identify as a Black Indigenous person, right? And I know that's a loaded term for many people, and that's the way I personally identify. And a part of my heritage as a Black American descendant of slavery, with both Black and Indigenous heritage, is that
Mhm.
the connection that my lineage has to the institution of slavery is not that far away. So
Mm.
my my great great grandparents, who was not that far away, right? My grandparents' grandparents, many of them were enslaved. And the one that I'm thinking about the most strongly is Miss Ann. So Miss Ann was my grandmother's grandmother. She was born a free person, and she told her family that she was born a free person but was abducted around the age 9 or 10. She believed that she was about 10 years old when she
Oh,
was abducted from her hometown and sold into slavery, trafficked into slavery. She was
wow.
brought to Mississippi from where she lived. Um, and so she already knew how to read because she was born a free person. And so she secretly taught all of her children. I want to say she had 7 children in between the time that she was enslaved. She had 7 children. And
Mm.
apparently the family who trafficked her and all of these other people had a rule that if you had more than 5 children, you could earn your freedom. And so, after her, fifth, sixth, and seventh child, she was granted her freedom. But this was also strangely around the same time as the Emancipation Proclamation,
Right.
kind of
Right.
became free, like right in that, 1863 to 1865 period. And she and all of her children, including my mom's mom, were literate. She taught them how to read through reading the Bible.
Mm.
That's what she had access to. That was
Yeah.
the only book she could get her
Yeah.
hands on
Yeah.
without getting in trouble. And so, um, her legacy of also teaching our culture and heritage, to our family as storytellers is really important. So she would
Mhm.
sing songs that she remembered from her childhood to her kids, and that's some of the ways that she was able to pass Geechee Gullah as well as some of the other like Afro-Indigenous languages to
Yeah.
her kids. So even me and my sister, who are generations far away from the Carolinas, are able to speak some Geechee Gullah and sing the songs because it was passed
Mm.
to our family. So it's just a really important story for me and cultural pride that I have. In addition to that, I think my grandmother, who had many children, she sent almost all of her 9 children to college. She had a
Mm.
6th grade education, but she was the smartest person, most intelligent person who I've ever known
Awesome.
in my life. And so, no matter who you are and how you were born, if you love learning and you love your people, you can do anything that you put your
Mm.
mind to. And so my grandmother, she taught me that. My parents have also taught me things. My sister and I were close in age, and we went to the public school near the neighborhood that we grew up in. And at the time, it was a majority Black district, majority Black neighborhoods. And so, what that also means, because there's been a systematic war on public school and systemic disinvestment in public
Yeah.
school through the process of white supremacy, our school didn't have everything that it needed for all of the
Right.
kids to be successful. And so my parents made a point to start a tutoring program. They organized the community, parents also at the school. They raised money. They started the tutoring program in the church across the street, because at first the district was like, oh, well, we don't have money for an extra tutoring program just for your kids. They're like, okay,
Mhm.
fine. So every weekend we got up and we stood outside and we went to doors. I remember being a child helping my parents knock on doors to say, hey, if you want your kids to come to the student tutoring program, we're going to do it anyway. And my parents did that, and eventually the district did adapt that tutoring program, and it still exists for the elementary school that I went to, and that was
Wow.
25 years ago. That happened, and still to this day, I think because my parents kind of grew up in a different generation, they don't see themselves as community organizers. They don't see
Huh.
themselves as activists. They just
Really?
see themselves as parents who love their kids and wanted to prove that every single black kid can learn, and being quote poor doesn't mean that you can't learn. And so they saw it
Mhm.
as a part of their job as parents to make sure that they advocated not only for us but also for the neighborhood kids. And so I keep trying to tell them, like, you are kind of activists, and they're like,
Yes.
no, I don't see myself as an activist. And
Yeah.
also, they sponsored a couple children in Haiti and in Nigeria when I was a child. And I'm like, did y'all know that you were a philanthropist, like
Right.
giving hundreds of dollars a month for black girls to go to school in the diaspora? They're like, well, I'm not a billionaire, so I don't see myself as a
Mm.
philanthropist. And so ultimately,
Mm.
great grands, my grands and my parents taught me is that you don't have to be a billionaire to be a philanthropist, and that you don't have to be a trained politician to organize the community and to support the community through having self-determination to get what we need. So that's what inspires me. And what I'm dreaming of is more of that for people of our generation, to rediscover our power and to know that we are not victims just because we are victimized, that our conditions are not our identity.
Mm. Come on.
Our conditions are not our identity. And just as our ancestors, although they were enslaved, they were not slaves, right?
Right.
Because we experience oppression and marginalization in this country does not mean that we are helpless people. We are very powerful people. And that's why they work overtime to try to make sure that we'll stay silent. So, Camille Communities is a dream project that my partner and I incorporated last year through the support of Dr. Evans and a couple other people. And so I know we'll talk about it some more later. So,
Yay. So inspiring and helpful. So let's stay there. So basically what Maya Faber, what we're hearkening to is homeschooling for Black people was happening way back when, since the beginning of
It's
time, right?
always
So
happened. That's right.
right.
it's always happened. And when we expanded beyond the home, we went to the churches. When we expanded
Right.
beyond the churches, we started little small schools. We did what we needed to do. So let's dive deeper into the Black homeschooling and that movement. Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more.
Just my own personal experience. I was an educator, I was a teacher, I worked in public and private sector, charter sector. I've kind of done it all in pieces. But and when I gave birth to my own child during the pandemic in 2021, it's odd to say that it was a miracle, although it was a bad miracle. It kind of gave my partner and I the opportunity to actually be home with our child. We were working remotely, and you know the moment came where we're like, okay, in this moment we could be our son's first teacher. And so what does it mean for us to work together to make sure that we're using our collective knowledge as previous teachers to
Right.
come up with an educational plan for our baby, who was also born very early. And so just to
Mhm.
make sure that he had everything that he needed to be on par with his age group. And so we homeschooled our son for just about 2 years. And then recently he's been able to be pretty successful in a Montessori children's house. So that was the approach that we took. Both of us have background in Montessori education, and so we really like the model and have been in those environments for many years and think that it's very closely aligned to our cultural beliefs about education and how children should be treated. And so, yeah, we Montessori style came up with a work plan and we just worked together to do it. And so we're very happy with our baby's progress, and he's making really, really, really good academic strides, even as a 3-year-old. He's advanced in a lot of areas academically, and at the same time, because he was born early, his growth, like his physical growth and things like that, he's still very tiny. And so being in a specialized environment where they understand our homeschooling efforts and are also able to still provide supplement has been
Yeah.
really, really helpful. So we're kind of now a hybrid homeschooling and school environment family, and I think it's been going really well for us.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And I think I don't know. I think what I am extracting for that from that is that cultural piece was important for you all to deliver, is
Hmm.
what I'm hearing, and to make sure that he had that foundation. So
Yeah,
thank you for talking about that.
yeah. Thank you.
Maya, come on in, join us.
Sure. I'll first share my experience as a mom. Choosing school for my daughter and wanting to make sure I was centered as her mother,
Mm,
and her educational experience started literally from the fact that I was like, no, I don't know if I want to do daycare. I don't know if I want to do childcare. I had my daughter at 41, and so I knew that I was going to go back to work. I did know that. I knew that it would be important for me to model that being a complete whole person means doing more than only mothering. And so I knew that, but I wanted her super close in those first few
yeah.
years. And I wanted to play a very um, like active role in taking her to the library and to
Mhm.
various programs. So the first 2.5 years of her life, she had a nanny, and I was broke to afford
Mm,
the nanny. That's just
mm.
the financial choice I made. And then I found a nanny share that made it more affordable, partnering up with another family. And then the pandemic hit after enrolling her into a toddler program. And so then all of a sudden, I was right back at homeschooling, because
Mhm.
even though she was enrolled in a public Montessori school, she was doing school online. So many
Mm.
of you all likely experience that if you have
Yeah.
young children.
Mhm.
And a 3.5-year-old, school online don't work. So what we did is, several parents, there were 5 different families,
Mhm.
we coalesced together. We all had our children enrolled in the same school, and we said, we're going to create a pod.
Mm.
And we did not hire a teacher because we didn't have money to hire a teacher. But we did decide that each one of us would host Monday through Friday. So I have 5 children every Friday from
Mm.
8:30 until 6.
Wow. Yeah.
And I am not a trained teacher. Okay. And I learned why during that year. Uh, but fortunately, because the school was Montessori, we spent a lot of time outside. We spent a lot of time at the playground. We spent a lot of time at the grocery store. Like literally, we would do field trips to the grocery store.
Mhm.
And so it was a lovely experience looking back at it. When I was going through it, it was
Mm.
very stressful. But I learned so much about what my child needed
Mhm.
emotionally, and how like a multi-age group of children helped to balance so much of her learning. We
Yeah.
made the tough choice of saying, we're not going to mask up, but this is going to be our bubble. So y'all can't go see no other people. This is
Right.
it. And
Right.
so we spent a lot of time together during the school day, but also on the weekends with each other. And it was a really powerful anchor for me that will continue to guide the schools that I choose for my daughter. So we did not we did not stay in that, because as soon as the pandemic opened up, we were like, so yeah, we're going to send the kids back to school.
Yeah.
We're going to go to so my daughter's in a public school now, but when I think about what experience do I want her to have um, while she's in my Montessori school, while she's in an immersion, a Spanish immersion program, what experience do I want her to have as a middle schooler? And quite frankly, with my own career, how do I empower
Mm-hmm.
and fund
Mm-hmm.
unapologetically
Yeah.
Black educators who know what a great school can be,
That part.
who have the skills, the experience, the relationship with families, and their network to activate powerful schools serving babies like my own, like my
Yeah.
daughter.
Absolutely.
And so that's been the work that I get up and do every day. So while I am not an educator, I fund educators. And I work right alongside them to remove the barriers to establish a public charter school here in DC that allowed Zani and Ebony to create the River Seed School. To literally, I met an educator that I enrolled my daughter into his summer camp, and he had run a pod the same time I had started one. Now he's about to open Blue Montessori as a part of the DC charter. 2 years in the making. He was not Montessori trained.
Wow.
But we got him Montessori trained because he was already doing Montessori. He just didn't know it.
Yes. Yes.
And so I think he didn't know the pedagogy. He hadn't gotten exposed to it, but he knew it in his bones, if that makes sense. He followed children. He incorporated nature. He had stations and let children choose what they wanted to learn and focus on each day. So there was so much Montessori in that little summer camp. I was like, ooh, I see this connection. Yeah. And I offered the opportunity for him to explore designing a school and learning more about Montessori. And one of the things that I think is so important is, how do we remove the barriers and then trust fully what folks are doing? Right? How do we disrupt these systems of hierarchy and oppression that make people feel inadequate or powerless? And so the work of Black Wildflowers Fund is really about that, holding space for Black genius and for sharing resources and wisdom, because the answer is already within you, but it's about the healing, the rest, the celebration, so that genius continues to come out.
Yeah, and I think that's what this conversation is about. It is about Black liberation. It is about now having choice to do things differently. It is about now coming together, sometimes even as a community. For my family, it is about my granddaughter, right? And so we are coming together, deciding where she can show up fully. And it is about what my ancestors did, right? I taught my granddaughter how to read. I was not going to wait until someone else could come in to do that. I am the one in my family. We are the ones who said our culture is important, and that's going to show up in everything we do, and in you as you show up and as we show up unapologetic, right? So this homeschool thing has really been a way, even if it's a hybrid, right? It has been a way that we as Black folks know we have to give the gift to our students, just like Meacham and many people before him, right, said, we got to know how to read and write. 1A, right? And then let me find a place. I am encouraged and inspired by the efforts that folks are making. So you started telling us about, Maya, well, how you do it with the Black Wildflower Fund right now, you support. So want to hear a little bit more about that. Fabra, what's your freedom dream? How have you worked to create a difference, a better, a choice for Black learners?
Yeah, I think just in
Yeah.
so the work starts with yourself, right? And what I want to continue to be in a practice of accountability around is not asking people to do things that I'm unwilling to do myself. And so
Mm.
I thought that it was really important as my partner and I are building out our vision for Camille communities to also do this work with our own child. And I'm going to say something that is controversial, but I'm also like kind of known for saying things that are controversial. So
Yes,
if
you are. Keep
people
going.
people are hearing me talk for the first time, buckle up because I'm just saying.
Go ahead.
One of the things that is to me really important about Black homeschooling and the opportunity and the urgency of Black homeschooling is that secure attachment has been systematically taken from Black people.
Oh, yeah.
Secure attachment in parenting in the early childhood phase, in the after birth phase, is a really touchy point for Black parents, for Black mothers, and for Black fathers, and for people that may not necessarily identify with those gender terms, but have given birth to a baby or had a partner that has given birth to a baby. That was one of the first incredible early childhood human development moments that has been taken away from us since we got to this country. When a Black baby was born on a plantation, the baby was born, the midwife would take the baby, and then the overseer or the master would weigh the baby and talk, okay, this is we'll do this with the child. Okay, you clean her up and let's get it going. In some ways, that systematic practice continues.
Mm. Mm.
And so Black women and Black people who are giving birth are still systematically not given the full opportunity to cultivate secure attachment with their children. And so a lot of the times we got to get back up and go back to work in 6 weeks, or we got to get back up and, continue to fight for resources and deal with all of the issues that we have and continue to try to heal from all the things that we've always had to heal from, and that there's no time and no capacity for secure attachment. And so I really do think that it's important for us to leverage the moment that this pandemic has taught us is that health is a very fragile thing. And
Mm.
so as our communities are healing from that, like I said, how can we use this opportunity to also heal from generational trauma
Mm.
around the ways in which we have not had secure attachment opportunities for our children? So, whether it's 6 weeks, 8 weeks, or 2 or 3 years, spending that time with your child for your child to see you as their first teacher, to see you as the first person they trust,
Mm.
to see you as the first person that makes them smile is something that we in group as a people can assume responsibility for and try harder to support each other around. Also know that Black people are not a monolith, right? And so when
Right.
we talk about terms like African American versus
Yes.
American descendant of slavery versus Afro Caribbean versus Afro Latino, there are all sorts of
Yes.
Blackness, right, in the diaspora. And what are some of the ways in which self determination and self identification can be helpful tools so that we can continue to create strong coalitions amongst our cultural groups? What
Absolutely.
would it mean for people who are descendants of slavery to work together to collectively heal from the tragedy of being robbed of secure attachment, right? We didn't
Yes.
get to carry our babies on our bodies, that was illegal,
Right.
right?
Right.
So, yeah,
Right.
like how can we heal from that and also provide opportunities to do that with self-determination and with love for our own children and teach our young people the importance of that and
Yes.
making those sacrifices to just take that time with our children. So
Right.
Camille communities is one of the ways in which I'm hoping to do that. I see Camille communities as not just an institution, but an ecosystem. And so our mission statement is by centering the whole person, making a multi generational effort, we will shepherd our community to a future where belongingness, abundance, and longevity are birthright. And so, Camille Communities is my vision and my partner's vision for a self determined, liberatory, Black and people of color led eco villages where parent led schools are a cornerstone. So we recognize that schools are centers of community, but
Yeah.
schools are also not just school buildings where some kids are learning and lessons are happening, right? There's a whole
Mhm.
lot that goes into what makes a good education for a community of people, and
Yeah.
parent education and pieces around secure attachment and the importance of multi-generational education, having elders in your life and things like that are practices that we want to reteach our community and provide capacity around. So it's still a
Yeah.
work in progress. We don't have a website yet. However, this is my like, passion thing, and figuring out how to support and facilitate these conversations and support these resources for Black and Indigenous communities.
Love it. Love it. Maia,
I
tell us
love
what.
that too.
Yes.
And, I see my role and, quite frankly, Black Wildflowers Fund role as a lever for ensuring folks like you, Fabra, who have this vision for what school can and should be for Black children, for it to, that seed to be planted, and that you can open, grow, and build that movement. Um,
Mhm.
and not only build that movement, because I think so much, you know, the strong Black woman, Black people are so strong. We've endured so much. Like, no, we should do that, be able to do that in abundance.
Yeah.
We should be able to do it as we build wealth for our families, as
Yeah.
we pass generational wealth on to our children. We shouldn't have to do it and rob Peter to pay Paul.
Right.
And that is what I feel like is a
Yeah.
gap that needs to be filled. And
Mhm.
so, how do we do this work in
Mhm.
Yeah.
a way where we remain whole
Mhm.
Yes.
and
Yes.
and become even better,
Mhm.
better mothers, better sisters, better friends, better partners? Like,
Mhm.
all of that is so important too. It's
Mhm.
not
Yeah.
like we have to give up one to get the other. So
Right.
Black Wildflowers Fund is really about, how do we ensure Black educators can start movements,
Yes.
start schools, can be leaders in their community, primarily in early childhood education, but also beyond, because they don't have to take on debt to get a Montessori credential. Let's
Right.
stop doing that. We shouldn't have to take on debt. Quite frankly, I don't think Black people should ever have to pay for college or a PhD or a
Come on.
master's if we're
Come on.
talking about it. But,
Period.
like, when I think about my work, what can I do? I can create a $10 million fund that makes it so you don't have to take on debt to get a Montessori credential in whatever training center you choose that meets your needs. Right now, the bar for us is MACD accredited, because we do want to have a quality bar for Montessori.
Yes.
But ultimately, like, we want you to choose a program you can get through that's close to you, that will meet your needs as an educator. And we know you know that better than we do.
Mhm.
So you get to choose, right? And
Mhm.
then the other piece is really around, how do you start your school whole? And not from this
Mm.
place of where you can't pay yourself the salary you initially planned
Mhm.
because there was delays in construction, or you went over budget, or you found some mold in the
Mhm.
facility. Like,
Yeah.
all of those things that really
Yes.
do happen
Mhm.
when you are an entrepreneur and you're starting something new, that are setbacks that everybody encounters. How do we make sure those setbacks don't bankrupt you and
Right.
your livelihood?
Right.
That
Yes.
is a big part of what the fund is about. And it truly is a labor of love that was driven by Black educators who were in Wildflowers Network and said, like, this is all great and pretty that y'all, this
Mm.
aspirational work that y'all are doing, but here's
Mhm.
how it's affecting us.
Mm. Oh,
Here's how
wow.
it's affecting me. And when I heard that and saw it and felt that myself, I said, we got to do something different.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this fund is going to be unapologetically about us.
Okay.
And that means not every funder is going to want to fund it. but I can say we've already raised $1.1 million. We're on track to raise another million by the end of this year.
Wow.
And I'm going to pound the pavement until there's nobody else left to ask to build these dreams, to make them a dream fulfilled, right? And not just
Yes. I
because the
love it.
genius is there, the ingenuity, the entrepreneurship, that like we have tons of receipts that we know how
Yes.
to create environments where Black children will thrive.
I
So now
love it.
we just got to put that capital behind it and remove these crazy barriers that exist for Black educators to do it.
Yeah.
Love it. I love it. I love it. All right, y'all. I want the folks who are with us to think about some questions that you might have for the panelists, right? I dropped in the Eventbrite link if you want to learn more about how to get credentialed through the Black Montessori Wildflower Fund, right? So we want to do that. But before we go, last words, Fabra and Maia. What advice do
Mhm.
you have for parents, caregivers, guardians, freedom dreamers who are thinking about homeschooling or thinking about a different way to educate their children?
Mhm.
What would you say? Maya, you want to go first?
I'll
Yeah.
go first. I would just say that I've been over the last 10 years in particular really inspired by all of these micro movements. Abolitionist Teaching Network, um,
Mm,
4.0, which allows you to pilot a program in your community and gives you $10,000 to do it. Camelback Ventures, 228 Accelerator. There's so many programs that weren't around 10 years ago that now are around for us to fund our dreams and to create what we want to see in our neighborhoods and communities. So I would say go after those.
mm,
Link up with me on LinkedIn. I'll point you in the right direction, whether it's a school, a for-profit venture, a nonprofit venture, because we have to help each other make this happen.
Yeah.
And we have access to funding sources. States have created access for homes to fund homeschooling networks. You don't have to fund it out of your pocket.
Okay.
So those are the things that I'm like, I want to make sure all this knowledge that I am gaining by being the co-CEO and a major fundraiser for Black Wildflowers Fund, that we are sharing that knowledge to navigate in the spaces. This is how people create wealth and entities. They don't all do it with their own money. So we
Okay,
gotta
I'm following.
leverage. We gotta leverage the resources that are out there. So that would be my number one piece of advice. And then build your cabinet. You gotta build your cabinet. We gotta do this in community.
Yep.
And it
mm.
begins and ends with love. So how do you create a beloved community of support that
Mhm.
complements the skills and gaps you don't have? So if you don't have a legal backfire, someone who can serve on your board or your advisory board, find you a fundraiser. There's lots of them out there.
Yes.
And for me, I'm always like, how can I find the educator that's going to build the school that I would send my own daughter to? That's my
Mm,
lens. It's
that's your
always
link.
about that.
Mhm. Mhm.
All right, Favor. Thank you, Maia. Some people were asking, what's the first one you talked about? I think it was abolitionist teaching. But if you would
Yeah.
drop some of those things that you were talking about in the chat, Fabra.
Mhm.
Any other questions you all have? Put it in the chat. But Fabra, final words.
I think Miss Maia said it all, but what I will say is, what do they say? What's the Nike motto? Just do it.
Yes.
Just do it. Just do it. Like perfection is not required. Perfection is not required. Both
Mm.
and is important. It doesn't have to look like how everybody else is doing it.
Mm.
There will be hard days. There will be hard days. And it will pay you back in dividends. You will see
Mm.
the difference in your child who sees you as their first teacher. You will see a difference in them by doing this, going on this journey, to help them through their education, where they lean on you also as an expert, for what
Mm.
they should be learning and what they, could be doing. And yeah, it's fine if it's part-time, right? Like, even if it's just on Fridays, even if it's just on Saturdays or Monday evenings, like, if you have to lean on the school systems, whether it's public or private, that is also okay too. We all have different needs. We're all in different places in our lives, and we can still provide leadership, within our families and for our children, and they deserve
Yes.
to see that, even if
Yes.
it's part time. So just do it, and just do it your own way, in a way that's authentic for you. And it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to use your resources. There's programs, as Maia said, about fundraising. There's
Yes.
programs for parent support all over the country.
That's
Parents as teachers, ready readers. There's a couple different programs like that, where free books are available,
yes.
free lesson plans are available, free developmental checks and occupational PT checks are available. Please
Yes.
use those resources. It's in every state and territory in the US.
Mm.
Yes.
There you have it, y'all. Unless I'm checking the comments, I'm not seeing many more. Please connect with Fabra on LinkedIn. Please connect with Maia on LinkedIn. Will you all both drop your LinkedIn uh, links in the
Give us a list. I don't
chat?
have all 50 states. I have what's in Missouri and maybe Illinois, but
Okay.
Parents as Teachers is a national organization, so there should be one in your state and school district probably.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanna shout out for those of you who are already, working, and you're like, I don't see how I build the thing and pay my bills. There are programs like Surge Institute where you can get that leadership development support and have structured time to do dreaming. There are programs like the Nexus Fellowship. I'm the co-chair of on the board for the Equity Lab. There's so many opportunities for us to pour into ourselves and have our employers pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
So leverage that. Somebody
Leverage.
say they can't give you a raise, but they can fund this fellowship for you to be
Yes.
dreaming,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So take advantage of all of those resources, and I will drop my LinkedIn. Ask me specific questions, and I will do my very best to answer them as well, because we're going to do this together in community.
In community, I think that's also freedom dreaming is possible, and we are here to help make those dreams become a reality. So I want to greatly thank, I told y'all, we told y'all that when we do this, we bring the fire, we bring it. So I really want to thank both of the panelists for their insight and their continued work in fighting racism. We always drop our free downloadable guide at the end, for folks to take advantage of. And here we go, you all, a sneak peek to our next two webinars. April 10th, 2024 is the 10-year anniversary this year of the book Waking Up White. And so we will actually have the author here and on doing a chat with us. So join us. The next one, I'm sorry, I put those two together. Let me do it separately. The next one is Savannah Keith, who is, and that's April 17th. She's going to be speaking about the myths that are killing American schools. She's
Mm.
the founder of Liberation Collective. Come back, join us for both of those webinars. Our goal here is to have a free format that we can talk about the real things. Remember, it's called Real Talk, Real Actions. And so we thank you all so very much for showing up. I am so grateful to my esteemed panelists for the knowledge and the support that you're bringing. Reach out, y'all. We are here for you. Let's keep going and embrace equity together.
Yay.
Bye. Thank y'all.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.